Hey guys, I'm just going to go over a couple of more advanced questions when we're talking about dealing with substitution. Like we were doing yesterday, this is all pretty much just taking and plugging in or substituting something. For your assignment for this, number 1 and 4, I'm asking you not to do. I'm going to do those right now so that you can have something to look at on your paper so you can go back to it whenever you need to. Okay. Yesterday in class, we were dealing with two equations. We were able to identify, okay, y equals this thing, which means that I could substitute that into that place in the other equation. I identify, okay, I know what this variable is. I can substitute that here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Hold on. Okay, there we go. That should be better. So we were able to identify, okay, I know that this equals x minus 7, which means that I can substitute that into that position. The thing that we saw in one of the examples yesterday was that, well, I don't have y equals or x equals. I don't have either of these, so I can't do a substitution. What you can do, though, is you can identify and say, well, I could solve for x and get x equals here. So, for example, I can take this x plus y equals -3. I could solve for x and move this y over. It's adding, so I'm going to subtract it. Okay, so now I would have x equals a -y and a -3. Okay, see, so now I know what x equals. X equals -y minus 3. That means that in this first equation here, where I have 2x minus y equals 6, I can take this information, and since this is where that x is, I can substitute or replace that information here. Now that's just a matter of solving and figuring out what the y value is. I will point out for this assignment that you're asked only to find the y value. Okay, so now because of the parentheses, I'm going to have a distribution to work with. So that would be a -2y. Distribute, that would be a -6. And this is still a -y. Alright, I've got two like terms. So that would be -2 minus 1, which is a -3. I'm going to solve for y, means I'm going to eliminate this 6. The opposite of subtraction is addition. And because I'm multiplying, I can divide. And I know that my y value is going to be -4. So again, here in the beginning, there is no y equals anywhere. So I had to take one of these equations, I brought that down, and I said, I'm going to force this to be x equals something. It doesn't matter what it equals, so long as I have x equals, or I could have chosen y and subtracted the x. Either way, I would have still gotten the same answer for y. I'm also going to go through number 4 here, because that's a little bit more involved. Okay, so again, there is no x equals or y equals here. I don't know what y equals, I don't know what x equals. And now this is the reason why on that last question I solved for x. In class, I pretty much gave you, okay, here's y equals, here's y equals. I've always been giving you y equals. Well, you can use x equals too, and that's fine. Because looking here, I don't want to have to solve for this y, because that has a -2 attached to it. And I know if I'm going to have to divide by -2, I can't divide 3 or 7. Those are going to give me decimals and fractions. I don't want to have to divide, I don't want to have to solve for this y. That's got a number attached. I'm going to have to divide by 3. And then I'm going to have a third or 5 over 3. And that's going to make working with the rest of the equations more difficult. I'm going to pick the easiest variable to solve for. That's going to be this x right here. Because to solve for that x, all that I have to do is get this moved to the other side. It's adding, so I'm subtracting. And subtract that over, and then now I'm ready to substitute. All right, and now x is what's left over here equals, there's a negative 3y, there's a minus 5. Okay, now I know that x equals this, so I can go back to here and I can say, I'm going to take this information and substitute it into there. I'm going to go over a little bit. Sorry about this griddable being here. We just want to make sure y'all get practice doing that, putting that in correctly. Okay, so I know this equation I can substitute into here. So 3, I'm going to substitute minus 3y equals 7. Now what I'm substituting is this minus 3y minus 5. So over here, minus 3y minus 5. Now it's going to be solve. Okay, this again, this is the new part. This is what's new that we've never done before. We've had you guys solve for a variable before. Maybe not always x, but we've had you solve for a variable. So now that the substitution is done, again, I have a set of parentheses. I'm going to have to multiply with 3 here. So 3 times 3, that would be negative 9. And 3 times minus 5, that would be minus 15. The rest of this, minus 3y is still here, the 7 is still here. None of that's changed. Like terms, there's a y here and a y here, so combine those. We've combined like terms before. This is review. Negative 9 minus 3 is negative 12. Minus 15 is still part of the equation, equals 7. And from there, you would just continue to solve for y. I'm going to go ahead and jump and give you what your solution is going to be. Your final answer is going to be y over y equals 22 divided by 12, and you can reduce that. Reduce it by a factor of 2, so that's 11 over 6. Be your correct answer there. Oh, sorry, that would be negative because of negative sign. And to kind of step through, you would add a 15. So you'd add that 15 to the 7. And then once that's done, so that's first thing, and then second, you would have to divide with a negative 12. And so after you add that 15 to divide with the negative 12, then you'll have your negative 22 over 12. So that's a little bit more of an advanced look at solving systems with substitution. A couple of these questions down here are a little different, like number 8 is kind of a different one. Because it turns out that there is no solution for 8. So whenever you're working through this and you get the answer you get, that means that you're dealing with no solution. So I'm giving you a hint there. I'm giving you a way out of that. All right. All right. There's your assignment. Good luck, guys.